Saturday, January the 21st, 2012. Our election commission, which is chaired by Ms. Melba Blakely, members Mr. Robert Hamilton, Bob sitting in the back, Rob, raise your hand, and Ms. Rosemary Byerly. I don't see Rosemary here. The election commission has elected to open all 98 precincts. We have found that if you consolidate precincts to try to save money, it just drives the voters absolutely nuts. They don't know where to go, and when they go to the alternate one on the next regularly scheduled election, they show up the other one and raise Cain about you for not letting you know. The only precinct that will be combined will be the Arrowwood precinct up on Highway 11. That church has a scheduled event which precludes us from using that facility. Those voters will vote at Chesney Senior Center. Prior to the recent lawsuit, which the South Carolina Supreme Court ruled that the South Carolina Election Commission and the county election commissions must conduct the presidential preference primary, the state Republican Party promised to pay all reasonable expenses associated with the presidential preference primary. Today, let me read you a statement that was issued by the South Carolina Republican Party. In light of the South Carolina Supreme Court ruling that the state election commission and the county election commissions for each of the 46 counties must conduct the 2012 presidential preference primary, the South Carolina Republican Party cannot provide any further funding for this election. We believe that this is consistent with the court's orders. End of quote. The counties have estimated about $1.5 million to fund this election. Currently, the state has on about $1,030,000. Now, folks, I'm no math whiz, but that's a shortfall of about $470,000 that's going to have to fall on the backs of the taxpayers. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that in 2016, the Democratic Party is going to want to have a state-funded, taxpayer-funded presidential preference primary. So you need to think long and hard about what the party's doing and the cost to do that. Now, having said that, this county and the other 45 counties will conduct the presidential preference primary. We will do that in the most professional manner we can, and we will do it with all the integrity that this office and the other counties continue to do, and hope that you have come to expect and feel like this office does conduct the elections professionally and with integrity. Now, having said that, some of the things that we're going to do to try to reduce the cost: we are going to reduce the number of electronic voting machines to where we have a maximum of 3 at each voting precinct. We had asked for volunteers. Volunteers meaning no pay, to help run these precincts on the election day. After several weeks of trying to get volunteers, as of the end of the day today, I knew of 7 volunteers we had. Now, I think we may have some more coming.
Quite a few more. We have not called you all.
All right. I would have thought, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that the Republican Party and the precinct chair and committee people would have stepped up to the plate on this. And it would have been an easy thing to do to get volunteers. It's like pulling teeth out of a turtle. So I ask you to look within yourselves, to give of yourself on the January the 21st and work one of these polls to help the voters sign in, make sure they get credit for that, to make sure the books are properly done. We have some training classes scheduled in January. You'll have to come to that so that you know what you're doing. We don't want you there if you don't know what you're doing. So please come to that. Please sign up. You can help us reduce the cost of that. Now, having said that, a couple of weeks ago when I talked with LaDonna at the Republican Women's meeting at the Marriott, we didn't have many people, so I went ahead and we've gotten an extra person at each precinct that will be paid, and that's an $11,760 cost to the county GOP/state Republican Party that we would not have had to incur had we had volunteers jump forward. So I encourage you to do that, and if I sound like I'm fussing at you a little bit, yeah, I am. So please step forward and make this thing good. I think that's all I really had to say.
Can I ask a question?
Please, Rick.
You mentioned $11,700.
Yes, sir.
The county's going to pay for. Where's the money going to come from?
Well, when we submit it to the state, that becomes the State Election Commission and the Republican Party to pick up that tab. Where they get those funds for, Rick, I don't know. Right
the
now,
State Election Commission quoted today that they may be running a deficit. Now, that's not the Republican, but Capital are running a deficit.
that's a political issue for the party I'm going to stay at. Right now, the state has $180,000 in filing fees from the Republican Party and $850,000, approximately $850,000 in carryover funds. Add those two together, you get $1.3 million. $1,030,000, thank you. $27,000 shy there. Wasn't higher math for me. Thank you, Rick. Yes, Dana.
We vote absentee that day if we work volunteer polls all day that day. We vote absentee.
You can vote absentee. In fact, if you know for which candidate you want to vote right now in our office, you're able to vote in person absentee today, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, 4:45 actually, unless it's a holiday. If you're going to be out and unable to travel, you can call in our office and request an absentee ballot application. We will send that to you, complete it, send it back to us, and we will send you the ballot. We've already had 10,000 paper ballots printed in anticipation of the Department of Justice approving photo ID bill. We'll have to have a great many more ballots on hand in case people show up without driver's licenses or IDs to handle the provisional ballot status. But right now, you can vote in person in our office if you're already decided on who you want to vote. Good question, Daniel. Thank you. Yes, sir.
The volunteers you're asking for, was it determined that volunteers, if they did volunteer, had to work a whole day and couldn't work half days?
Yes, sir. You have to work the whole day, just like the poll managers do.
Well, but why would that be? What would be the point of requiring that?
One thing, we want accountability of the records. If you work a half a day and switch off and you've forgotten to mark the book or have a voter sign in, then we don't know who to hold responsible for that. Our poll managers are quite aging at this point in time, are there from 6 a.m. in the morning till late at night. I want you there the whole day.
That's part of my point, but my wife's tried, considerably to try to get volunteers, and the word that she keeps getting, well, if we could work a half a day and it's like a 7-hour day instead of a 14-hour day, because most people who are willing or able to do this would be retired people. And
yes, sir, and the majority of our poll managers are retired people too, and they would love to be able to work a half a day, but we can't do that.
We must sign the zero tape before the polls open in the morning, and right after the polls close, all the workers must sign the final tape that is taped to the precinct door. So that's the biggest reason that I can think of that we can't have.
You ask a valid question, though, sir. Any other things? Yes, sir.
Other states, do they do the 12-hour thing? I mean, I think that'd be hard for retired people to do.
It is hard. The average age in South Carolina for a poll worker is 72.
Is it a legal requirement under South Carolina law?
Under South Carolina law, I don't know if it's a legal requirement. It is required by the State Election Commission.
So I guess my question is, do other states do the full 12 hours?
I do not know what other states do.
Yes, they do. Okay, thanks. I got nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm one of those ancient.
It's a long day, isn't it?
It's a long day. Is this possible that a volunteer could come the day before? The two of us were working. Our problem is picking up the machines and turning them on.
Well, we're going to have paid people to do that, Thorne. We're going to have a clerk and probably 2 paid volunteers at this, not volunteers, 2 paid managers. They will be responsible for picking up the machines. They will have them set up, ready for you to basically just flip the tops up on election day morning. You won't have to pick up the machines.
My point is, when he's talking about the volunteer part last night, could a volunteer come the day before just to help with the physical?
Oh, they could, sure.
And come at the end just to help again with the physical without having anything to do with the...
I'm going to defer that question to Mr. Hamilton. Our board meeting is this week, this Wednesday, and we will discuss that question and feedback to LaDonna and for her dissemination among the group. Anything else? Well, thank you very much. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
If someone were to come